Okay. So the cases I give you back, there are two parts. One is most of us did a really good job. Again, the number I give you very subjective. It's comparative. I kind of read them and then come back assign score based on the overall rating. So it's relative. Okay. So last night I didn't drink anything, so that might be a factor as well. So that's one thing. The second thing is you can work together in terms of discussing stuff. The case has to be your individual work. So I don't want to prejudge or guess, but there's some cases clearly they're not independent. So at that level, I don't use. Everybody want to use the turn in. I don't use turn in because I have a trust in you. But you have to make a judgment. That's very important too. It's part of no pain, no gain. Basically, you got to go through some work to learn using what to learn. That's very important as well. So we'll talk about this case in a few minutes and put the two cases together. Now, the discussion we had before break was probably the most important discussion for this whole class. Okay, that's very important because we can learn visual, we can learn IBM tool, we learn Six Sigma, process redesign, as is to be, we learn meaningful use, all the stuff. But fundamentally, what you do with them. It's like a PowerPoint. You learn PowerPoint. After PowerPoint, what matters? The fact you know PowerPoint has nothing to do with the content, what you may produce from PowerPoint. What is important for PowerPoint? It's your idea. Yes. Your idea going into PowerPoint. You learn great things about meaningful use, tag act. You learn great things about how to do visual diagrams, data flow diagram, workflow diagram, simulation, all this stuff. But what you do with them? Those are only tools, the only concept framework. Where does the idea come from? And you know the as is, but where do you come up with the to be? And I can tell you that's the fundamental challenge. If you read Fred Brooks' book, The Mythical Man Month, that's the point he made. So after years being a software project manager, and he comes to the conclusion, he called accidental versus essential difficulties in doing technology projects. He said accidental meaning peripheral, less important. Things like we design better computers, we design better programming languages, we have better tools. He said those are all peripheral. And essential meaning timeless, essence. Essential difficulty, do you have good designers? Do you have good process thinkers, system thinkers, right? In healthcare case, you could have great technologies, but can you redesign your organization to leverage on the technology rather than responding to this technology implementing? You see the difference? And that's where the vision, the creativity, innovation come in. So we're going to continue to have those discussions, but I want to set out some framework. Now, in your team project, I'm not going to judge you in terms of how fancy the diagrams are, how complicated diagrams are. I'm going to judge you how well you understood the process, how well you understood the different measures you must use to gauge the difference between technology as is to be, process as is to be, the measures as is to be, and the relation between them. So that's the most important part. So you need to be creative. Okay, creative means do something you don't know. Okay, if you do something I know you know, everybody knows, that's not creative, right? In Harry Davidson case, one of the most important things, in addition to being, gradual, taking the time, have all the stones turned, everything goes. In addition to that, a very fundamental assumption they took is go wild. What it means by go wild? Meaning don't put constraints on your creativity.
I agree.
Right? Go wild means don't let what we know, what we cannot do, constrain our creativity.
Yeah, but don't you feel like that's good in an environment that wants that allows that? Because there's some places, like in my organization, I innovate a lot of things in my organization, but they sometimes tell me, David, relax, calm down, slow down, like.
Well, in your case, it's not about innovation. It's about your personality. It's about your personality. It's not about innovation. Slow down a little bit, David. It's just your personality.
The key here is it's a mutual influence, right? Mutual influence, meaning we can influence the environment, and we do what the environment constraints put on us. So in some cases, and that happens to everybody, if you do something the environment can accept, you influence. If not, that environment doesn't fit you. If you cannot change, you have to change the environment. So that means you go to another environment. If you cannot change the environment, you have to change the environment, means you have to go to another environment, right? So the same thing, you know. But the fundamental is not so much environment. A lot of times come from us. It's not environment. So a lot of times we think the constraint from the environment is fundamental from what we have.
But Professor, it could be like you said 3M was very innovative and very creative until it got its new CEO. So either you could change the environment or become the CEO of a company.
Yeah, the CEO was eventually kicked out.
But before that, I mean, he
and then they come back to the old culture.
They're innovative now. They get a day off every week.
Yeah.
But I'm saying you could either be top management to have your ideas be instilled, or else
you have the luxury. You know, our dean, I don't know if I told you or not, he resigned, the college business dean.
Already?
Yeah.
God.
Now, there are a lot of collateral damage. Okay, so I mean, I don't want to judge the dean good or bad. He's been here a little bit more than 2 years, right? He come in. I don't think the changes he made, the changes themselves are bad, but the way he changed, he didn't manage well. Manage change. So basically, he touched on something I thought should be changed, but the results, the way he did, people didn't accept. Right? Now, the university president backed him up. You know, 2 years ago when he came in, a lot of people didn't want him, but he came in anyway. And then last year, people in the university, the dean, if the university president backs you up, right? Nobody can fire the dean, only the university president. What's unique in the academic environment? If the tenure professor or tenure track, it's called tenure track professor, tenure or untenure track, to be tenured. If this professor get together, they vote no confidence in the leader of the college, majority vote, the dean has to step down. Because fundamentally, that's called faculty governance, right? So last year, the faculty was going to vote no confidence. There was a movement. And then the president provo come in and said, don't do that. We're going to find the middle ground between the dean and the faculty. And this year, it didn't happen. So about maybe less than 2 months, a month and a half ago, on Thursday, the faculty was going to get together, have no confidence vote. And there will be no question, a majority vote will be there. That means, you know, more than 50% of the tenure track faculty will vote yes, no confidence. So the night before that, at 11 o'clock, our dean sent an email to faculty said he stepped down. Right. Now, meaning there must be something in the last minute, and maybe the president eventually said you're on your own. You don't step down, you're on your own. They're going to vote, you're going to step down anyway. Once they vote no confidence, but at that time, they're going to tell, the outside news will be the dean was fired by the faculty because of no confidence, right? If you step down, you will resign. I think basically must be there a lot of talking behind the scene, right? Eventually he resigned. So there was no vote.
You get a severance instead of getting fired, right?
I don't know. But I had no problem with him. I had no problem with him. Mm-hmm. And I would vote no confidence.
You will not?
I will.
You will?
Yeah, because you know the same thing with Peter Story. Remember in the first case? Yeah. His message may not be bad, but he was not a good messenger.
Yeah.
and you are in the way of the good message not being accepted, right? So in that regard, it's not necessarily just what you did, it's also how you did it. You see the problem? So I'm just giving you an example. Even in academic environment, the president back up the dean, and the dean come in very strong. And he was paid $300,000, the highest paid dean almost in the country. $350,000.
For this one?
Yeah, but it was a dean for business.
Yeah, 300 something.
Serious?
What am I trying to do?
He just, well, in that case, it's just
Professor, I think you're the next dean.
You want innovation? I'll give you innovation.
Become the next dean.
Oh, I don't want it. They can pay me $1 million. I don't want to do that.
You're a very fluent thinker.
The most important thing I think is the priceless is the freedom. Once you become a dean, you become an administrator, associate dean, private chair, you have to be 9 to 5. You have to be here 9 to 5 in the office.
Too much structure.
Huh? It's all contactual. It's all contactual. The next thing come in maybe 200,000.
Professor, can you give me recommendations?
What is the CEO of that coffee company make?
I'm just giving you an example. You know, even in that environment, very mixed environment, eventually there will be a convergence of, what works, what doesn't work. So I'm just giving you an example of what David said. You said, right? He's saying, he likes new ideas, but nobody, can come up with the same acceptance, right? He's kind of too far, and people say come down middle ground. You're saying, if you cannot be the CEO, how you make a change? You can. So the environment is very important. But the most important is for you guys trying to be more structured. That's very important. Don't be constrained by what you know. Don't be constrained by what I tell you in the team project. You have to be creative. That's very important. And then you take all opportunity to take risk, meaning get all your comfort zone. If you're too comfortable, you have to challenge yourself. Something is not working. It's very counterintuitive, right? And the younger you are, the less comfortable you should be with what you know.
Yeah, throw yourself out there.
Meaning the balance. So this balance, meaning the curve should be like this. Okay. So this is exploration, and this is exploitation, and this is a percentage. The younger you are in terms of time, this is 100%. When a kid was born, 100% should be exploration. Should going back to nature, right? When we die, there's nothing to explore anymore. It's all exploitation, right? We're dead. There's no future, and everything in between. The older we get, the less explore we're able to, because there's less degree of freedom. We're not giving that opportunity, and we cannot take the consequence of errors and mistakes anymore. Because
the errors and mistakes.
Because when we talk about explore, when you talk about innovation, not everything works. You have to allow people make mistakes, and they can recover that. The older we become, the less we can recover from our mistakes, because we have so much at stake now. So therefore, the younger you guys are, the more exploration you should do.
Mm-hmm.
Make all the mistakes, but don't make stupid mistakes. But make mistakes as early as you can, and then later on, you don't have to make the same mistake again. Right? Early means, like my kids now, they are sitting at home, on computer, on phone. I said, go out to play, go to the park, ride the bike, do something, run around, do something, swim, whatever. They have to have that freedom of exploration, right? We don't have that anymore. If you think about it, we go to work, we're so constrained. We go home, we're so constrained.
True.
And then you think about 100% time.
That's true.
The time we have to exploration is very little. And the older we get, the less we're able to do it because we're so constrained, right? And then you think about the opportunity for creativity is not there anymore. And then you think about how organization can be creative, innovative. Because the value of IT project in today's case, the actual value should be measured by how much innovation you have done through this project. That should be the ultimate success measure. And hopefully that innovation will give you reward on the market, which is the ultimate patient-based outcome. Your revenue, your medical error, your affordability, all those things, right? So.
When you speak about exploration, are you limiting it to the context of just which your area of focus in, or just exploration all around?
No, when you read Harley Davidson, when they said go wild, what was your interpretation?
Free thinking. Like free thinking, like there's no limit. You can just.
I don't know, motorcycle. I think getting a motorcycle and riding out.
No, because
I thought, to be honest, like that's what I thought. I didn't think more beyond that.
You go outside the box.
I hope they're regular.
I was thinking how nice it was to have leadership actually allow you to do something other than what they think you should do.
Yeah, it was like
Very refreshing.
Freedom.
We need freedom. That they trusted you to go ahead and saw you as a human and not as a machine.
Do something. As long as it aligns with the organization's strategic goals,
Yeah.
it should be. They should.
No, the ultimate autonomy is they don't tell you what to do, but you're in line with this shared value.
Yeah.
So that means there's a guiding principle.
Structured, unstructured.
There are alignment in guiding principles, meaning the criteria and the value was important to what we have, but there's no constraint on how you do what you think, as long as we have shared the value, shared the vision. So that's the ultimate kind of creativity you can have, right?
Yep.
We have, we all want to be pretty, but how we get there, it doesn't really matter. So we want the organization to be good, to be strong. So that's the shared value. And we say, for that to happen, patient need to be happy, and for that to happen, employee has to be happy, right? And that's called a shared value. And then for patient to be happy, you have to have good process. For process to be happy, having good tools, technology is not enough. We have to continuously renew ourselves and find the best approach to do what we do. Not just keep doing what we do, think about outcome, but also thinking how we do things, the process of getting the results. Because very often we look at the results a lot, but we don't reflect to the second order learning. Meaning if she's a patient, I fix her problem. Next time I fix her problem, but I don't change how I do things. That's one level of process management. The other level is I have a problem, right? She's not happy as a patient. I figure out why she's not happy. I fix my problem. So next time she wouldn't have the same problem. You see the difference? If she's not happy, like the first case, I'm gonna wave your face. She's not happy, I'm gonna wave your face again. So you're both happy, and then I wave your face again, right? I don't look back why I have to wave face so much.
Right.
You see the different order of process change?
Right.
So if I fix problem, I only fix problem. If I fix problem at the same time I fix my process, that's a higher order learning. So process management, Six Sigma is about a higher order learning. It's about self-renewal, self-design, and that's called exploration. Does that make sense?
Oh,
And then you
yes.
exploit on what you get. So that's probably the most important part of any of the things we do in healthcare technology is how ultimately this become a co-innovation, co-creation opportunity. So and very few organizations are able to do that because they don't see things in that angle yet, from that perspective. They're still very siloed.
Don't you think it's kind of difficult to look at someone and say, when you're interviewing them, how innovative are you? Something like.
No, if you ask me a question, no, David, if I ask you how innovative you are, I'm not innovative. You see?
No, I'm just saying though, like, right, how they.
But in our organization, we have creativity is measured, especially in the interviewing process. It's a performance-based process for interviews. So they'll ask you, tell me about a process that you've improved. Tell me about something that you've constructed or created or changed in the way that you do things that, from what you got. So it's the way you...
Yeah, because like, for example, I didn't bring innovations to my organization until being there for about 3 years after the fact.
No, why do I need to ask you how you know who you are or what you have done? Why don't I just give you a scenario? You tell me the solution. So
That
I
would
can
be
judge,
awesome.
I can judge how you know who you
that's
are.
awesome.
Right?
Some places do that.
I just give you a scenario.
We're talking
Yeah,
about
that's
something
scenario.
Because then you're trying to quantify innovation.
How about this? There's people submitting resumes as videos instead of sending a resume. They record themselves.
But I could see that also the gimmick though. You know, you just find a new way to approach you. Like
I know.
I'm here hearing all this. I'm here thinking, this sounds great. How can I find more people that are like-minded as so to get them in an organization to make that the organization bring them to where I want to get to? How can I identify? How can I isolate it? How can I see it?
So remember, the healthcare IT, the technology is the enabler. What is enabling is making us a learning organization. That's the ultimate goal. It's very important.
Okay.
Now, when you have learning organization, it's not so much what people can learn. It's the mentality, the mindset of learning matters more than whether you learn or not. Does that make sense? So you could have a lot of smart people. They're all able to learn, but the mentality is, hey, you know, we're here to do what we need to do. You know, it's not my job to continue to improve things, right? So it's not so much our ability to learn, but it's the mentality of learning. You know, you could have the same people in two different organizations as a result of the two different cultural environment. One organization is very much a learning organization. They always self-renew, always self-reflect. You know, we know we're not perfect. One organization say, hey, you know, let's just avoid our weaknesses and do something else, right? The other organization, let's face our weakness and fix it so that become our advantage. It's very different.
But I found it very interesting in this case, Harley-Davidson, how they're a continuous improvement organization, but the guy's like, I don't want to improve the process. I want to transform the process.
Yeah.
I want to change it. So they want to get at a mentality of continuous improvement and get an idea of innovating and seeing what they can do to transform it to the state that they want to.
Yeah, there are a few things, you know, that's a very good point. There are a few things, you know, beyond the case, there are a few things we need to think about. I'm trying to give you a few kind of language to talk about the issue. One is exploration versus exploitation, right? Now, exploitation is very much incremental. It's incremental, meaning I don't change much, I just refine, right? Doing better.
When you're in that
Exploration tends to be more dramatic, right? So that's one thing. And then the other thing we need to think about in technology world, we have technology, we have process, data, information knowledge, we have people, structure, everything else. We have three layers. And the other dimension is we also need to think about demand side versus supply side. Very often we think too much about supply side, meaning technology systems, but we don't think about the demand side. And we assume the demand side, we don't need to have exploration. You know, we just take, so technology, this is what we have, this is new. So this new thing come in, we leverage on. That's the leverage of technology. But we don't think too much proactively from demand side, regardless of the supply side, meaning technology, Epic, Soaring, you know, Cerner, whatever. Those are all systems. Without those, do we know what we want, what we need? You see the problem?
Doesn't that kind of go against with that management method you talked about earlier? How these people don't think about the lake or the fish. They go there and they say, I'm going to build a lake and put fish in there.
Why is it?
Because supply and demand once again. Like it goes back to what we were talking about earlier about the fishing portal. We're looking at the supply side, not the demand side, but sometimes there's a belief where if you build it, they will come.
That's why exploration, exploitation is not a static concept, right? You know, I have a 15-month baby. She is helpless without me. I have to give her fish. I mean, I can teach her to go fish, but she has no idea what fishing means, right? She can barely holding a something.
For something else.
Right? Let alone to go fish. You know what I mean? So in her age, all she can do is to make mistakes, but she has to depend on the supply side. There's no demand. She doesn't even know what she needs. Right? Now, when she grew up, I have a 13-year-old. I mean, she used to hold my hand, you know, now today, you know, I go there, she's like, oh, Daddy, why you're here? She's embarrassed I'm there. She's her friend, right? I say, hey, I'm here to check what you're doing, you know? And she, oh, I'm with my friend. I say, your friend, how many boys? You see the problem, right? So, And it's all depends on the life cycle we talk about, and there are different life cycles. The demand side life cycle, supply life cycle. It's not static concept. So when we see we need to be more holistic, contextual, it means we need to have the maturity and the sophistication to think the things not in a one-size-fits-all, make black and white suggestions, right? And that's the level we have to think about.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's all dynamic. You know, it's a balance of act. So when I see something, if you don't do it, it's meaningless. See, if I do something, I give you a test, you still confirm what I said, you learn nothing. The test is wrong. The test is not testing the thing. I should test you, can you do something with what we discussed in class? You see the difference? If you did something different than what I taught you, you learn great.
Mm-hmm.
You see the issue? You learn. So remember, the great value, the best value of education is not in the amount of knowledge you gained. It's in the amount of action you can do after your education. It's very different.
It's how you use knowledge.
It's the use of knowledge. And that use knowledge cannot be tested out of context. Now, in this class, if you notice, about 50% of your grade is related to your team project. You know why? I want you to do something.
With
and
your
then
group.
you do something, you understand, and I give you feedback. And then by doing that, it's like learning swim. You know, I give you a manual, you learn swim, right? And then I test you how much you know swim by learning the manual. Do you know how to swim? I'm not sure, right? On the other hand, I give you a manual. I don't test you a manual. You go swim. I come back tell you that's not the right way to swim. And eventually you don't swim. And you go out, guess what happened? You never forget. I don't even need to test you.
Mm-hmm.
You see the difference? You know, you can learn recipes, right, from classes. I can test you how much you remember recipes, right? But do people use the same recipe, make the same dishes?
No.
No. What's the difference?
The love you put in.
I was going to say that.
And that's true, right? you can taste the love in the food. That's true.
Yeah.
She hates
So food is not neutral. But the key here is, you know, I love cooking. Earlier in my life, I actually used a recipe. I still have a lot of recipes, and my kids use the recipe, right? And I'm telling them the ultimate cooking should be no recipe. You know, like now I go home, I just go ahead and open the refrigerator, you know, and then cook something, right? And where's the recipe? There's no recipe anymore. It's all dynamic.
Just make it.
It's not just innovator. It's situational now. It's a situational now. Now, when you do something, you learn something. It's the same thing with technology. You have this technology, and after this class, one thing you should take away. There are many things, right? We won't take away. One thing you need to take away is technology in and of itself has no value. It has to be situational. And technology is not neutral. Everybody attach different meaning to the same technology. You have to remember that. Otherwise, we don't need to buy technology, which is commercial software, meaning it's been tested, they use it, everybody can use it. And we spend $30 million to get that software, and yet we spend another $30 million to make it work. The part to make it work is our interpretation of the technology. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's what it means, the technology to us, and we make it work for us. And that's the part. It costs us $30 million, 18 months. Because technology is working. Epic is working. There are a lot of manuals, right? It comes with simply the data. It can show you working. And yet it costs you another $20 million, another 18 months to make it work for you. The gap is your interpretation of that technology.
I use it, right?
Yeah. So technology is not neutral.
So do companies do that? They reel you in, and then you have all that extra expenditure afterwards?
Oh yeah. It's called total cost of ownership. Maybe you can share this. It's called TCO. It's called total cost of ownership.
How often do they go above this?
It's the lifetime. In today's world, you can go out and buy a printer. How much does a printer cost you? Maybe $200. But how much toner you need? How much is each toner? Look at the lifetime. The printer costs you nothing. But if you budget only for the printer, guess what happens? You look at a small sesame, you miss the big watermelon, which is a huge chunk of what you need to do.
It's
Huh?
like
I heard that. That's
We're
it.
thinking.
You see the sesame, but you don't see the watermelon.
Oh yeah, we do that all the time.
No, I never heard that saying before.
We do that all the time.
I think.
it's
No,
like
if, when you look at technology, right? Like Baptist, they had Dr. Cosby, and me material, all these people, and all they look at was the screenshot. Guess what happened? Those are sesames. You miss the big picture. You get the soldering system from Siemens. What does the system mean to Baptist? You miss that big picture. And then you realize, oh, we have T system. Now we have to do something. And they don't work together, right? What happened? Another $10, $15 million. You see the problems, right? So we're not doing the logical things. So it's very interesting. Did you get your hand right?
I was gonna
No,
say that
he
we-
raised his hand. I said, I'll come back.
Oh,
2 hours ago.
that was-
He was in exploration mode. Now he's in exploitation.
Diego, you have to marinate.
I was just gonna say that a lot
And
of times
saute.
soft-
Already ate it.
new soft-
Marinate.
then they
Digested.
make you pay for upgrades or
Yeah.
a new version, and
Yeah.
you have to pay. You can't just
And that's called a switching cost, meaning you're trapped.
right.
Yeah, that's what I was
I
talking
know
about.
a lot of.
So how often
practices
say
happens.
you'll have it for $2 million and then another $2 million over budget.
Yeah, because you're trapped.
Like, you have
And
no
then,
choice.
and also they may give you an initial scope, and it sounds good. Once you're in the boat, you don't have nowhere to go, and anything you change will be significant cost.
Yeah,
Yeah. So that.
like a contractor, right? Build the house.
But we'll talk about that a little bit later in other contexts. But anyhow, so there's yeah, even my teaching, I have taught many years, and the difference also changed. In the old time, the first time I taught, I had 40 slides, and I finished 40 slides like in an hour. I had 2 hours. I don't know what to do. and seriously, years later, right, like today, I could stop at the 1-2 slides, talk about 2-3 hours.
Yeah,
That's
we've been on
very
this slide
different.
for
It because it becomes unstructured.
Yeah.
You're sharing unstructured stuff. It's not your slides anymore.
So you create your own philosophy of life, like
What?
you have your own philosophy of life, like you think
Yeah. I do.
and your own theories and
You were
everything.
talking before about education not being so innovative for children, right? But it wants to,
Yeah, because I see.
they want to quantify things, right? That's why there's testing. I heard some analogy comparing it to inventories.
Yeah.
Like in the 50s, a company like Sears shut down for a week to count inventory. That's impossible now, right? Inventory is automatic. Why is it that our testing system has to be done
Yeah.
for a week or two or
Yeah,
whatever?
that's very. I don't know if you understand him or not. The inventory in the old times, we have large batches. We order fewer times, but each time we order is a large batch. So we have to count them, right? In today's world, it's called a batch of one. So basically, we don't order truckload anymore, or even batch of a production plant. We order one, meaning essentially it's the same thing. In the old times, UPS, they send out schedule, the truck pick up whatever they do. Today is dynamic schedule, meaning when UPS go out to a house to deliver something, at the same time they would realize the next door there's a pickup. It's dynamic now.
Right.
It's not predetermined, right? So the question now, why education we cannot do that with the kids? I don't know, but years ago there's a guy called Edward Juran and Joseph Juran, Edward Deming. So those are two people in quality. And Edward Deming, before he died, he's this, basically Edward Deming and Joseph Juran those are people are pioneers for total quality management. And Edward Diamond was particularly strong with management. So I went to this conference, thousands of people. He was on the stage. It was like everybody watching him, worshiping him. And they asked him almost like, he was too old. They said, before you die, give us a magic formula, right? That kind of thing. He said, for the educational system, how to best test students. There's about a middle school, high school, or university. And he raised his head and he said very slowly, he said, who knows they learn or not the best?
So what?
Could you repeat it again?
Who knows? Let's say if I'm a teacher, you're a student. Between the teacher and the student, who knows the student learn or not
The teacher.
the best?
The student.
No, I heard something like that. I heard that the professor, I think, from Harvard or something like
I
that.
don't want to
that
No,
he
this is
said-
Edward Diamond. He asked, I don't know, maybe the professor learned from that too.
It's not a neuro thing, I promise.
So I think it's what did you say?
And then the audience said, they're all mumbling. Some people said teacher, some people said the student. And he said, the student. And then he said, if the student knows the student learn that, why the teacher should give the test?
I like that. Let's do it.
That's basically
For all
the
the
problem we
Yeah,
have.
he asked the question, innovation, go back to the basic.
He's meditating. He's meditating.
So the basic idea is, we need to go back to the basic, right? And then people start to think about, and that's very fundamental, And the key here, and I alluded to it too, why as parents or teachers should tell the kids what a kid should do or not do. In fact, that kid will live his or her own life.
No. Wait a minute. As a mother, what you
It's gonna
just
be a rough
say?
life.
That my son, I don't have to structure him because in the end he's gonna live his own life.
Yeah.
No, I am indoctrinating a little boy, and he is gonna be indoctrinated to be a productive member of society. I am not. Gonna
That's fine. That's fine. Let me give you an example.
I believe
here.
in
We
freedom.
have Chinese mothers, Indian mothers. They call them
Freedom.
tiger mothers.
Yeah.
And I'll give you a quick example, and then we move on. Let's say
I read the book.
if there are two kids, they're both high school or middle school, right? They do exam. One kid, American kid, let's say they got 89, and the parents, oh great, they got 89, right? And the Indian kid or Chinese kid got 98. You know what the mother said?
Not good enough.
No. It's the same thing, but there's a very simple question the mother asks.
How did
No.
your friends do? You
No.
can do better.
Why did you
It's
miss
a bad
2
thing.
points?
Yeah.
Exactly.
For the Americans, whatever, they go, 89, great, you got a B plus, B whatever. And for the Chinese or Indian mother, they say, what happened to the other 2 points?
Yes.
Is that
What
bad?
happened to the other 2 points?
Because I'm like a tiger father. Is that bad?
No, that's
But that's not my point. I
Same-
said
same
it's
concept,
gonna be
man,
fun,
like
but
sports.
seriously,
Some
I
people
think
really
that
That's no gravity. He fell off. He could learn.
Oh, right. So by the time that he becomes a man, and then when he does care, he's like, oh, so much to talk. What you have to teach them.
You're going to have a lot of stress when you grow up.
Professor,
And I have stress too,
So,
right?
No, you know what? It's true.
Yeah, you have your expectation.
My son is 16, and I can talk to them blue in the face. At this point, I'm like, you know what?
That's it.
Do what you're gonna do because it's your life and your future, and what you do now is gonna dictate what's gonna happen later. I can't tell him what to do. He's gonna do what he wants.
He's 16.
He's 16
I got the one in my house at 16 years old when I did
16. I'm gonna.
that. Okay?
So the
I don't
day
have
he pays for his own
expectations
dentist,
anymore.
I don't care if he's 25 years old. If he's leaving my house, go brush your teeth now.
No, but
Doesn't work like that, trust
I think
me.
the problem is you.
Yes.
You living in his own house, you can call him up, have you brush your teeth, right?
No, but I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying. I agree.
But what was the punishment about
I
that?
just think
Oh, it's bad.
it's
It's too competitive.
I think
If your kid is competitive, the kid will
Doesn't
take
work
care of
like
it.
that.
Yeah, my son's very competitive.
And then we'll take care of it.
Okay, so
Oh, really?
probably good. Go.
I don't
So what
know.
you're saying.
People are
is
different.
better.
If they're
Wow.
not competitive.
Well, because
Oh, is it?
I'm not
Nobody
saying,
wants to see
I'm
the
not
other
saying
end.
which way is the
they
better.
learn to like
I'm just saying
Right.
There wouldn't be the other one.
the difference. I'm just saying the difference. For
And
me,
we do.
I think you need to be a balance. There is a boundary. As long as you don't go outside the boundary, the kids should be given freedom. That's me. So. I agree with you.
Freedom. I believe in freedom. No expectations. They can do whatever they want.
Is your wife a freedom taker as well?
Yeah, she actually,
the opposite, right?
no, she actually kicked me out.
So she's a tiger mom. That's very good. Come on the book.
But I think the key here is we need to be open-minded. That's very important. And with kids, it's very interesting. It's like a process change, or people, right? When you change technology, it's not technology. That's the easy thing. If I change technology, I change Windows operating system, right? When you go home, I change. You don't even know. That's so trivial. And I change the network. You know a little bit of email, but I change what you do. And now you have to do things different. Now you have a problem. You see? So it's called the reach. How far you can reach. You know, the change. Ultimately, change your vision and mission. Who you are as an organization. That's the ultimate change. And believe it or not, that change will come. Right now it's gradual, and when you go back, it's like kids grow up, right? My mother hasn't seen my kid for 2 years. For her, it's a shock. Wow, what happened in the 2 years? She grew so much, right? For me, it's nothing because it's the same kid, right? So there's a quantitative change, gradual, but become qualitative. You see, right? So you have to manage that. If you don't, when you need to change, you don't manage, it's too late, right? Or you don't want to change, and it's already changed, it's too late. So there's a balance. That's very important. So in my philosophy now is, my 13-year-old the other day, I went to her and I was very nice. I drove them somewhere, dropped them off, and I come back checking them. She said, well, Daddy, why are you here? And now, right now, she's in Chicago. She's on the band. They're in Chicago for 4 days. And I didn't call her yesterday. Guess what happened? So this morning, she said, Daddy, what happened? You didn't call me. You see the problem?
Yeah.
Right? So,
But she's used to your presence. If your presence was never there, she wouldn't have missed you calling or not calling.
no. It's a push and pull relationship. If you control too much, they resist. Right? If you don't control, they say, gee, what happened? It's a balance.
We're talking about cultures.
That's true.
You were saying it's good to fail, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of Asian cultures, it's bad to fail, right? Am I wrong?
How come they got them winning championships and
It's
just saying.
yes and
I
no.
could be wrong. I don't know.
I believe
Yeah,
that's just what I heard.
No.
the choice.
In the Chinese culture, Indian culture is yes.
It's bad to fail.
It's bad to fail. You know why? If you have a job, you have a position, there
I
are
don't do
200
anything
people
anymore.
waiting for your position. And then once you're out,
Oh, no.
it's very hard to come back. So in that system, it's like a pyramid. Every step from you're very young. Like in China, half of my time I spend in China, half of my time in US. So in China, when you're in the elementary, they categorize the schools you're in by ranking the school A, B, C, D. If you're in D, it's very hard to get into A later. And then the same way, every step is a pyramid. You're in the top, you're very likely to be the top of the next step. If you're not, it's very hard to get in. Guess what happened? It's very competitive. You do a test, one test, job you done, you miss it. It's very hard to get back. And then as a result, elementary, middle school, high school, university is all like that. And there's no second chance. Here in the US, you go to undergrad class, you could have somebody in the years like 18, 19, 20, 30, I haven't taught undergrad at FIU. When I was in Minnesota, there was one class, I had a couple of people in the 50s, a few people in the 40s, a few people in the 30s, 20s, in the 19, 20 range, whatever.
a degree.
That would never happen in China. Never happen. They have national tests. You don't get into that university this time, you're done for life. There's no second chance.
It's very competitive.
What if you're rich?
Huh?
What if your parents are rich?
Then you come to the U.S.
I come to the U.S. In the old times, see, I come here to do my PhD, right? And then the people, I didn't have money, so, and when I come here, China was really poor, and I was very poor. I come from, at that time there was no rich and the poor. Everybody was poor, but we didn't know we were poor. It was a communist country, right? It was right and wrong. It was a good time. Now everybody's rich, but it's blurred. Right and wrong is blurred. So our spirit kind of suffers now. We make up the rules when we play the game. So that's very tough, right? So, and then people come here for master degree and then for undergrad. Today, people come to the U.S. for high school, and some kids come here for middle school now. Because they don't want to be in that system anymore. They want to come here and then get into this one, get into university anyway. And then the people there, because they're so competitive, they are very good at taking tests, and they're not good at with anything else. They have no social skills, no tolerance for anything else.
They listen to practical point.
He would never do another test in the rest of his life.
Huh?
And so I said that's why you hate tests.
I hate tests. No, I don't hate tests in general. When I was, I don't know if I told you or not, when I was a student in the undergrad graduate school, my PhD was okay. I was really mature. And when I was in undergrad and a master student, I hated some professors. I made a promise one day if I become a professor, I will never do what those professors did to me. And I kept the promise. I've been a professor for years, but in my graduate courses, I never give a test. Unless the student asks for it, meaning, I think for the people 15, I have to think about it. People don't pay attention, they don't appreciate the higher order learning, and they want me to read the book for me, they want me to test their memory on the book, I'll give it. But that's too easy. That's too easy for teaching. I give you PowerPoint from the book, I test it from the book, I don't do anything, creative or value added. How to think those are things.
Professor, if you were given the opportunity to implement, to be the head of the university or like a school, how would you design that program, to teach?
I think basically I would take all the textbooks away, no textbooks.
Really?
And basically you read the books, and I'll give you a topic, you find all the books, all the things you need to read, and then you come in.
But how do you learn how to read?
And then I'm going to ask you. I'm going to say there's a book talking about exploitation, and how exploitation related to a healthcare IT project. Go read it. Come back. I'm going to give you a scenario, a project. You do it.
So it's self-research discussion.
I think
so
elementary.
So I'm going to do is what I'm going to do is all experiential learning, meaning the things you can read, you don't read in class anymore. The professor shouldn't be teaching the books anymore. You can read.
Coming prepared to discuss the topic.
To do something. It has to be experiential learning.
So that system in China, that's what you have here now.
No.
Our schools are rated like A, B, C.
Here, the grades are very much inflated.
Yeah, but they're based on
That's expensive.
It's
But it's
national
worth
test.
it. I don't like it.
It's
I don't like
national
the way
test. When you're elementary, you do a national test.
Of course.
It's the same thing.
That's the problem.
I sent my
No, I
daughter
just-
to that, and it wasn't. No, she's too crazy for that.
Based on a national level.
It's a national level. Like
You
when
can take a kid right now.
What?
My kid is in 7th grade, and I bet you if he was tested against a kid in Massachusetts, the kid in Massachusetts would score higher.
I know that. That sucks, bro.
Not,
And it's-
maybe not because depending on
it's
what
a
school they
conspiracy.
go
No,
to.
See, here's
Well,
the
we're
story.
number
I
15
come
in the
from
States.
Minnesota, right? Minnesota has a very good basic education system. And I come here 2007, 2008. You know what Florida did, the state of Florida? They lowered the standard
so that they could
to
get
have more kids pass.
Yes.
And that's wrong. But the kids here, they have too many choices. So I think it should be middle ground.
You don't think that that's like the same thing like with our program in general? That's like
I don't know if this is wrong, but I feel like, not specifically in your class, but FIU in our degree, once everyone here is going to get a degree because it looks good for the program, so they can continue to build the program. Like, I don't think that there is going to be elimination.
Like there's
from
no,
our
there's
30.
no.
If everyone
Competition.
comes,
There's no
you know what I
competition.
mean? Like, look at half the class right now.
Yeah.
It's gone.
That's
But
why
they're
it's
still gonna pass.
inflated, right?
Yeah, but I don't think you should worry about that.
No, I'm not just saying. Like he said that, like Florida law and standards. I think that that's still the same in our
Yeah.
higher level.
I think she has a great point. You know, I'm not sure how this program is managed, and it's a little bit convoluted now. But you know, don't tell people I said that though. I'm actually one of the few professors who has taught this program from day one. I've taught every cohort, and the Nancy Bukowski. A lot of you probably don't know her. She was the founding director, and I was the chair of the recruiting committee. Recruited her, and at that time, I don't want to say the good old days, but
Nancy Bukowski is one of the ladies that wrote our
Wrote the
book,
book,
and
yeah.
the one that we had about
Organizational behavior.
No, she
no,
wouldn't
the other guy, Golf.
No, that's
They were friends. That's how Golf got his job, because Golf talked about
Dr.
Nancy
Golf?
Bukowski as well.
no. The key here is I think I don't know about this program. I think the quality of the program needs to be managed, and this garbage in, garbage out is very important. I think you're saying the same thing. I'm the director for the PhD program, and they're all nervous when we have a comprehensive exam. And I said, if we have an exam, I don't give them an exam. They have to write a paper. I took the exam out. All the department, all schools give the exam. I don't. So actually, I had to fight with graduate school. They actually stand with me. So I give them a project to do. They have to write a paper. And I said, if we have an exam, everybody gets A. We don't need that exam.
Right.
So
That's
when you
kinda
have
like
measurement, there has to be control, right?
Right.
So
Which is the point. Yeah, because I was.
Because like education now becomes like a business. Like it looks better for FIU for everyone. The passing rate to be higher, so more people come here.
Yeah.
So they can make more money.
Because FIU, when I looked it up for undergrad, I don't know for graduate, but I know for undergraduate, they had 50% fail rate.
Yeah.
What? But, like, look at
It's really high.
Also undergraduate.
Dropout rate.
no, it's not.
It was on the FEMA website.
No. The key here is I was on the strategic planning committee, the 5-year plan committee. There's a paradigm shift in the higher education in Florida. Used to be the state school funding is based on the number of undergrad students you have. It's head count. So FIU had the plan to increase the student number by 50% in a matter of 8 years. This is 2 years ago. When FIU did that plan, we want to increase the number. Now, if you increase student body 50%, but the local community, your source of student didn't increase by 50%, what
Where
do
are
you
they
do?
coming from?
You have to lower your standard. You see the problem?
When you lower standard.
And
you
then once they
failure
lower
rate-
the standard, they have more students, and the state changed the model now. Now it's called performance funding, performance-based funding. They don't look at your input anymore, how many students you have. They look at your output.
Yes, the dropout rate.
Oh, so they
And
were
the
considering
graduation
everything
rate.
in that
Yeah,
number.
A lot of students come to FIU today, they shouldn't be at FIU. It's because we want the numbers. Even college business, we used to have 3.0 entry level grade. Now it's 2.5.
For business,
Here?
right?
Yep. They just
The graduate?
no undergrad.
Oh,
They just lower it. The graduate school, the undergrad school is, they used to be at list, when we did the plan. Used to be, students come to FIU, they don't decide their major till the end of the second year. So to come to college business, you have to have a 3.0 GPA. When I was in Minnesota, to go from other schools or the basic school to the college business, there's called Carson School of Management, they have to have 3.75 to get to there.
Wow.
It's very selective. But the college business here, we used to have 3.0. Because we want to get more students, we lower to 2.5. Right now it's 2.5.
That is.
What's
This
2.5?
is for what?
Grad.
No, let me ask you, what's 2.5?
It's a C.
Like a C. But you know what? That almost makes no sense simply because, like, with the IB programs and these AP programs and things, these children, they have GPAs like 4.5, 5.0.
Yeah, but that's weighted.
Yeah, but you get a degree from Phoenix, University of Phoenix Online nowadays. Like,
So I can't see why you even have to accept anybody.
Yeah,
with
but
3.5
I always
is
say-
high.
Yeah, but education, it's as
Yeah, but-
he said, something that you learn. You learn how
I don't.
to use those tools
Yeah, I
in
don't
your
think
life,
where you
but
go
it's
to
not your
school is where
life.
you learn
I mean,
from
in school,
Because you could go to a top university and not learn anything. You could go to the worst university and be interested and learn and apply your concepts. And you'll be a lot better than the person that went to Harvard.
and going back to what you're saying, everyone here can graduate. Everyone can get a piece of paper. How many people can really use it and apply to what we learn?
Right, but that's what he's saying.
Everybody-
You're
exactly.
garbage out. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
That's what
no,
he's.
I
That's
do
the
agree
whole
with-
theory
I do
behind
agree
it.
with
Is
the
these
people
people are
that have a degree
graduating
and not
from
really-
FIU with a degree,
No,
but really are they producing? And is it of quality to say that yes, I had a 90% graduation rate? No,
It's
Let me ask
relative.
you a
It
different question,
depends.
though, right?
They're still
You
getting
come
paid.
back to the same philosophy.
exactly.
Do you think the education you get at FIU in this program is high quality?
Depending on the professor.
Depending
I
on
think
the
it
classes.
That's fine, right? And then you can categorize professors. You say, what percentage of professor can be viewed as good professor by your definition of good quality? What percent of professor not? And then if you have more professors in the category, they're not value added, they're not high quality, we have a problem.
I think.
So far we're at 4 to 6. 4 of them will be good and 2 of them have been like.
I think
It's a
what I see
ratio.
from this program
2 to 1.
is so far we have not everybody, but we have good professors. But the thing is, I feel like I understand that MBA, you're working in the healthcare field and you have to work in teams. But I feel when you're getting an MBA degree, you have to be more independent because in the real world, you're going to be more independent.
I
Sometimes
I think the other way around.
I think it'd be
Not
both.
at Harlem.
Yeah, but I feel like this MBA focuses more on group
Nah, but you know
than
what?
individual.
There's
This class,
No, not this class, but
the business world has a demand from business schools that, especially for the millennials, they're not used to working in groups, and when they get out there, it's not working for the business world. That's why there's that
I
demand.
think
For
there
But I
should
don't-
be some fundamental.
No, also
rules
let's
for
let's
working.
let's converge a bit. I'd also come back to the idea of balance and the
balance.
holistic.
It needs
okay?
to be a balance.
It needs to be balanced. Now, the other thing, I'm going to confuse it a little bit more. The first class told you I'm here to confuse you.
Yeah.
Confusing means I'm going to give you something different to think, other than the things you already know. Okay. Now, you also need to be holistic, meaning you don't tie good or bad, right or wrong judgment to anything we do. It's very important. Something we think is bad in the longer term might be a good thing.
That's so
Uh-huh.
Right?
Okay,
That is very
And something we say in the short term, this means, it's too painful, we hate it. But in the longer term, we may look back to see, and that's the something we benefit the most, right? So that's also very important.
No, I see this. I see
Don't
it.
criticize
I
your
think
experience.
Yeah.
Take it for what it is.
No. I think there's something that there is a breaking point, and I think there's.
Yeah, it's 5:12. Or whatever you like.
Oh yes.
Yeah, we're going to take a break and then come back, right?
For a week, right? We're gonna take a break for a week.
Yeah. Now, give me a few
I need
minutes.
some
Because we only
break.
did the one break, I will let you go a little bit early. And I think the discussion we had is very important, and that's
Yes.
the most unstructured
Thank
part
you.
and the most valuable. Now, I want to give us a little bit head up, okay? One is, I like your proposal, but the proposal is only a proposal, meaning we haven't done anything yet, okay? So there are a few perspectives. One is, I wanted us to do an exercise. Each person comes up with an idea. We did that. And I want us to go through an exercise as a group to come up with some consensus by a selection process. In the selection process, there are a few things. Again, one team did a really good job on everything. The other team, somewhat, there are things I didn't quite understand, or I kind of put some effort in there. So it's very simple for the, we have idea 1, idea 2, idea 5, 6, right? And then we say, how do we select? So each of us come up with an idea, a target topic. And then we're going to say, let's come up with some criteria. Criteria 1 is how easy to access data. Criteria 2, how much we learn. Criteria 3 is